Okay. Now we're recording again. That would have been a nightmare. I'll keep my
Oh
eye
no.
on that. Brittany, my podcast producer, can kind of sew together stuff. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. I'm so glad it popped up on
No.
the screen. Okay. So
Yeah.
what were you saying? You were updating on kind of what's going on with you?
My yeah, I am we actually sold our house in Chicago and I'm on a 15-month adventure with my family right now. So we're going to live in 3 cities over the next 15 months. And we are going to decide as a family, and because both my husband and I are entrepreneurs, we can do this. We're going to live 5 months in 3 cities, and actually, my older kids are going to help us decide where we want to live. And so I have had to figure out how to balance being moving 3 times, researching a city to see where we want to live, and then I've taken on the task of homeschooling while also running my business. So,
Oh my gosh. Okay. Can I just talk to you about that? Not
yeah,
just about that. I want to hear all about that. So,
yeah.
so yeah, let's. Hmm.
Sorry, I totally just.
That gets me so excited. Are you kidding? That's like, oh, I would totally do that with my kids, and I can. But my husband's
Yeah.
in a startup here that's currently local, and so yeah, I think I've been here the longest than I've ever been anywhere in my life, and it's like kind of,
Oh, okay.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling like I'm totally stuck. Like, get
Uh,
me out of here. Yes, I would love to talk about that. Okay, so let's kind of come up with our plan of action. Okay,
okay,
so
sorry.
and no, I'm so rad. I'm so excited. Okay, so let's well, you can introduce yourself, and then the purpose of having you on the show really is to introduce. I really think now that hearing from you is just really inspiring other entrepreneurs who are interested in social giving, but they aren't to the point in their own business where they can create initiatives. But we want them to be thinking broader, but then also creating impact making children. And I think that's just a
Hmm.
really big part of it. And then I would love for you to share about your lifestyle. I think that is so cool and what you guys have done and what you're going to do in the future. And then it might be a little too much if we get into talking about why you chose for profit instead of nonprofit. I could talk to you literally all about
Hmm.
your lifestyle.
We could, I mean,
Would you feel
um,
comfortable with that? And then we
oh,
could just kind of
absolutely.
relating that. We could kind of relate that back to um, your monthly crafting project and just
Yeah.
getting kids. And so we could talk about purpose and kids, like purpose driven
Hmm.
kids, and then lifestyle entrepreneurship, which is what you're doing, and what that looks like to really kind of craft your own life. I would love to
Hmm.
talk to you about that. Certainly, we can chat
Yeah.
about other things too. I originally, actually, when you originally applied, I had so many different ideas about what I wanted to talk to you about. I originally had you on 2 different podcast episodes. So if we
Hmm.
end up going longer, then we can actually break up into 2 episodes. Like one episode, we can talk about your kids. I mean, not your kids, like your family and your lifestyle entrepreneurship. And the second episode, we could technically talk about why you chose to go profit instead of nonprofit.
Sure.
Just really depends on how long you have
Yeah.
to talk to me. Um,
I could, yep. We're good. No worries.
Sam's gonna have to wait longer for me to come pick him up. Oh my gosh. Okay, all right. So we're already recording. Uh, how do you pronounce your name? Let's make sure I'm pronouncing it.
Sitinee.
Sitinee. Sitinee.
Yes.
Okay. And how do you pronounce your last name?
Sheffert.
Sheffert. Okay.
Yeah.
Sitinee Sheffert.
Yep.
How did you find me?
Impacting
Oh,
millions.
cool.
I'm in the Selena Sue course for that. Yeah.
Oh, cool. How are you doing with
Yeah.
that? You like that?
I love it. And it's got to give me the courage just to kind of reach out and just try to get myself out there.
I love
Uh,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I always felt like was I reaching out to people, I was being too salesy and markety. But you know what? If you have a story to share, why not share it? And if you got a good story, people will want to listen. And not to take, and I just learned not to take things too personal. That was
Right.
my biggest thing, which I had the biggest trouble with. So her course has definitely helped me with that.
Right. And you've been featured by Scary Mommy. And
Hmm.
so you've gotten a lot of press by going through that process. And I saw you're featured on Forbes. So
Yeah.
Rachel, um, interviewed you, which is super exciting. So lots of good stuff for you. I'm so excited for you. That's great. It's a
Thank
great
you.
program. Yeah. Super great program. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, so let me write down the time here for Brittany. Okay, so I am joined by Sitinee Sheffert, and I am, did I say that right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, I'll start again. All right, you guys, welcome to the show. I'm joined by Sitinee Sheffert, and I am so excited to talk to this lady. You guys can catch our behind the scenes by cruising to SweetLifePodcast.com, because we're actually sitting here staring at each other and having this conversation. So you're catching the audio version of it, but there's nothing more real, I think, than sitting down and just having a conversation with this woman who I am so excited to interview on the show. And originally, when Sitinee applied to be on the show, we talked about the difference between nonprofit and for-profit, and talked about some of the outreach that she is doing in her company. And it's so fabulous how life changes, because now that we're here, her life has totally taken a turn, and there are even more nuggets of wisdom that I want her to teach us on the show today. So I'm going to dive in. I have 1,000 questions to ask her, and I know you guys want to get to know her, but let me go ahead and turn it over right away. Welcome to the Sweet Life Podcast. Tell us about you. Let's go ahead and dive in.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be on here. Like April said, my name is Sitinee Sheffert, and I'm the founder of Giving Artfully Kids. And it's a program I started that's engaging children into making a difference by spreading kindness and helping others. It started as an after-school program where each week kids would craft an item for charity or to spread kindness to the community. And soon as word got out, I saw an opportunity to grow my program nationally. And it's just been so exciting, because I know that what we're doing is making a difference. It's making an impact. And I guess my tagline for my company is, we're building generation kindness. We're trying to build this foundation for a lifetime of giving for these kids.
Wow.
So it's been
cool.
An incredible journey, and it's just the beginning. So I'm excited to see where it's going to be going.
Yeah, and so you call yourself a social entrepreneur. So let's go ahead and define what that is, because you use that term and I use that term, but a lot of people still don't exactly know what that is. They hear social entrepreneurship and they think that, you know, somebody might be an Instagram expert. So let's go ahead and talk about, can you give a great definition of social entrepreneurship for us?
I will try my best. So I'm an entrepreneur. I founded my own business, and it's a for-profit business, but my business has a social impact to it. So I'm socially conscious. I'm trying to make a difference with my company, but at the same time, I'm not a nonprofit. I'm sticking with the for-profit realm as my business model.
Yeah. Love that. And I want everybody listening to understand too that, and this is the whole point of having you as a guest here on the show, is that there are so many different impacts you can make in your business that you don't have to be a nonprofit for. Giving initiatives, giving first, and I think Sitinee has done just an amazing job with that. And so I'm so pleased to have her, you know, kind of dive in it and share her story. So tell us about you and tell us about your family. And you guys are on, and then we'll dive into, you know, some more of a business strategy and training, but
Absolutely.
You guys are on an amazing adventure right now. Talk to us about your clan.
My clan. So I am wife, mom of 5 kiddos. So they range in age from almost 12 years old to 9 months old. And back in, June of this year, so just a few months ago, we sold our house in Chicago, and we decided to take a 15-month adventure with the family. We are going to try to figure out, this is our research project, to see where we want to live in our next forever home. So we're going to be exploring 3 different cities and living there 5 months in each city. And the kids and my husband and I, we're all going to decide after 15 months, decide where we want to live. And it's a collaborative effort, which makes it really fun, because I think oftentimes we underestimate kids, that they don't have that ability to make some of these critical thinking type of choices. And it's amazing with my kids, they're already telling me reasons for or against where we are or we're going to be. So I'm really excited to see what happens at the end of this adventure, how things turn out.
Wow. So you guys really are the perfect example of a lifestyle entrepreneur family. And that's really inspiring. I'm very grateful to have you on the show. And so you sold your house in Chicago. What is your husband? You said your husband's an entrepreneur as well.
Yes. So he owns his own private equity firm, and I run Giving Artfully Kids, which is a digital online company right now. And he kind of came up with this idea. He's like, we can live anywhere in the world. Actually, I'm sorry, anywhere in the country, because he needs to be accessible to an airport. And he's like, there's so many great places out there. We've been in Chicago for 11 years. It's time to show our kids that there's a bigger world out there. And why not? This is a perfect opportunity. The kids are, they're my son's going to be going into junior high, but young enough still where I think you can still make different transitions. So we're like, we're going to go for it. And he's the one that came up with the idea of trying out these different cities. And he told me, I thought he was crazy at first, but the more I thought about it, I'm like, what an awesome adventure. Let's do it. So here we are.
Oh my gosh, I love that. This is so rad. Okay, so how did you pick the 3 cities that you're going to live in? Do you know them all yet? Or are you like, okay, we're just going to start with this first one?
Yeah. No, we narrowed it down to 3. We had a list of like 10, and then we finally narrowed it down because there's a finite amount of time. And being from a big city, there's something about the mountains that I loved. And so for the past couple of years with the kids, we'd vacation in the Denver area in the mountains out west. And then last year we came to Park City. So we decided, you know what? We love the mountains. Let's try Park City. Let's try Denver. And then my husband owns a company in Austin, Texas. And I've never been there, but he says Austin is so cool. It's different from the mountains, but there's something about it that's really fun. And he thought I would absolutely love it. So once you get to a place, you want to stay, but I'm like, I had to go finish the process because we're never going to get a chance like this again. So Park City, Denver, and Austin. I'm in Park City right now, but we're still trying to figure out where we're going next, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, being a family of 5, not knowing where I'm going to be in 3 months, but that's all part of the journey.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I think I'm very envious. We can't be quite as mobile yet, but you're living my dream, like for sure. Absolutely. I love this. Austin is awesome. We have so many friends that live in Austin. And when you're in Austin, you have to go check out Uchi, which is a fabulous sushi restaurant that a friend of ours is the CEO of down there. So go check out Uchi in Austin. Actually, Uchi Denver too just opened too. So
awesome.
Super fun. So how did your kids take it when you were like, "Hey, okay, we're gonna pick up and move"? How were your kids with that?
My oldest and my third are very social, so they had a lot of friends in school. They've made some great connections. They're like, no way are we moving. We just, you moved us to a public school 2 years ago, and now you want us to leave again. So they were kind of hesitant on the idea. My second, she is kind of an old soul, and she loves challenges. And so when we said we were doing this and that mom would be homeschooling, she's like, oh, I'm ready. I'm going for it. But then after a while, we showed our other 2 kids like all the different adventures we get to do about the flexibility of homeschooling. They were like, okay, this is interesting. And I'm like, you know what? With technology, you could text your friends. We'll stay in touch. There's FaceTime. So you'll still have those connections, whether or not we're there or not. So it took a little while, but then finally they're all on board. So it's been good. And so far, I have not had too many complaints. So.
Oh my goodness. And how are you doing homeschooling and being a CEO, being an entrepreneur?
It's been tricky. I have never homeschooled before, so I had a great friend that kind of provided me with the resources, but it takes a lot of time. It's pretty intense, and my biggest thing is I want to make sure my kids are staying on track. So I know I can't slack on that. So the first thing that kind of slips is when I'm with my kids, I have to be intentional and be with my kids. So can't answer that email right away, or someone messages me, can't get to that right away. So the business has kind of taken a back seat. I try working at night, and that's what I'm trying to do right now, but I've not, I have to say, fully figured out the balance. I am wanting to because I believe in my business. And so it's tricky, but I think it's going to be a growing process, and I'm ready to take on that challenge to figure out what's the right balance of being mom, teacher, and entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah. See, I think that I could definitely do your life, but not the homeschool part. I think I would just, they would not go well. My children would fire me like really, really fast. And I mean, I do have so many friends that actually homeschool, and I understand how intentional that is, especially with 5 kids and you have a 9-month-old. And so, oh my gosh, girl, you are a rock star. This is super awesome. I'm so grateful to meet you. And so, what are some of the challenges I feel like that, your business is developed? We're going to dive in here into your business in a bit, but what are the challenges? And this might be a really personal question, so welcome to the SweetLife Podcast. What are some of the challenges that maybe you and your husband have dealt with, both being entrepreneurs and through this process? And if there's anything you can share, kind of some of the victories and the challenges, and maybe how you're learning to grow together too, and then as a unit of all 7 of you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of pressure in terms of stability. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's not solid like having a corporate job where you're going to be there. For my husband, he's got that pressure where he knows my business has to succeed because I've taken my family on this kind of a risky adventure. But he's thought it's been thoughtful, and he's thought about it well. I planned it well out to say, hey, you know what? I can figure this out. It's going to work, and I'm going to be intentional. And for him, failure is not an option. And then for me, I've been fortunate enough that my business has been a little bit of a side hustle. So it's been a little bit more reliant on him, but he keeps telling me, your business, you need to give it a chance because people need to hear your message. So it's been difficult that it's been on the back burner. And as you know, in entrepreneurship, once you have a good idea, people are going to catch on and others are going to want to compete with you. So I'm still trying to struggle where I want to keep the momentum I've built and keep it going. And so it's been a tricky struggle. But through this process, we've grown as a couple, because when you leave your comfort zone, one of our biggest goals for our trip was we wanted to strengthen our family unit. And that was not just my husband and I, but it was all of us. With 3 kids, we were on travel soccer. The kids were playing piano. We were just running all different directions. But now that we've moved together to an area where we've got to meet new friends, we're all on the same kind of baseline level, our family has gotten so much stronger. And it's been fun. My kids are actually not fighting as much as they did before, which has
really
been a shocker to me. They still fight, but it's not as frequent. But that has been one of our biggest wins, is strengthening the family unit. And then being home with the kids, they've gotten to see mom as an entrepreneur a little bit more, because I was working while they were in school, so they had no idea what I was doing. So right now the kids are doing homeschool. They're doing some schoolwork right now. I'm like, you know what, mom's got to go on a podcast, and this is why I'm doing it. What's the purpose of it? And so it's fun for them to see the entrepreneurial spirit in both parents too.
Wow, I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, what a cool family. And your husband sounds like a great guy. And my husband, if you've been listening to this podcast for any period of time, I actually interviewed my 16-year-old on the podcast that came out in, I don't know, September. And I interviewed him on Inside the Life of a Lifestyle Entrepreneur's Kid, and just gave him the opportunity to share his perspective. And you are right, though, giving your kids a chance to see what it's like, that there aren't any set hours, that you create the magic, that you create the result, and that you literally, it's like taking beauty from ashes and just building something that it's completely from within, and giving your kids a chance to see what you're doing and the risks that you guys were taking, but the importance of defying the status quo. That's what I call defying the status quo. And that's how my husband and I also intentionally try to raise our kids. Just because something is done a certain way doesn't mean that that's the right way for you. And giving your kids an opportunity to see that the way you guys are showing them is more powerful than anything that any structured society and the way that things are quote unquote supposed to be will ever teach them. And I think that is so admirable. And there are very, very few families that see the depth of that value and the importance of that, and that are doing that. And so I just want to be your friend for a really long time. so I can keep feeding off of you. This is so cool. I think it's super great. So yeah, let's talk about your business. Talk about Giving Artfully Kids. You are a social entrepreneur. Tell us about what Giving Artfully Kids is. Go a little bit more into depth about that. And then let's talk about how other entrepreneurs could perhaps get their own families involved in some of the cool things that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so basically Giving Artfully Kids started, I still remember exactly when I kind of came up with the idea. It was a Halloween, and my two oldest were pretty young. They were like 5 and 3 at the time, and we were trick or treating. And then a hurricane had hit, and they were like, we kind of want to raise money for the Red Cross. I'm like, whoa, my kids, this is very cool that they want to do this on Halloween. So we did our block. They picked up the candy, but then they set up a table. They put up a sign up, donations for, I want to say it was, I forget which one it was, but for the Red Cross. And then people were donating money, and they were so excited. I think they made like $40 from this. And so then the next day we drove to the Red Cross, and they handed the money over, and it was a great feeling, but they didn't quite understand it. You know what I mean? It was $40, but to a kid, even though you know how to count money, you don't understand the true value of it. They don't understand the true value of working for $1. So I was a crafter back then. I was trying to figure out what is a great way to have kids understand that they can make a difference and really truly understand what that means. And so I was at that point crafting a lot. And so I had to find places. I wanted to combine my two passions of crafting and helping other people out. So I started making scarves for the homeless, making preemie hats for the hospital. And I had my kids help me. I mean, they couldn't do it themselves, but we work on it together. And then they saw this little preemie hat. And I'm like, do you guys know that there's babies in the hospitals that are born really young, and your hat's going to keep them warm? And they somehow realized at that time and their energy and using their hands to make things, something clicked, like that light bulb went off. And they're like, wow, you mean I can make something and it's going to make a difference in somebody else's life? And I was like, yeah, so this is something I just kept doing with my kids. And I'm like, this is really working. They're really, really enjoying this. So I was excited about it, but there was such a concept back then. And so what I actually did, this is kind of like my entrepreneurial journey a little bit, is I went on the web looking for different places to donate items. And I would get to a blog post, and there would be like a list of places to donate, but some links would be broken. There was an organization. So I'm like, I'm going to build a website. I don't have the technical background. So I just, found like Wix.com, put together like a page, and it was Giving Artfully. That was my first business where I connected crafters with volunteer opportunities to donate their handmade stuff. And then I had a friend who was on PTO at the local community school. And they said, hey, is there any way we could use the concept of Giving Artfully as an after-school program to teach kids about giving through crafting? And I'm like, you know what? I'm a parent of 3. I don't have any teaching background. I enjoy crafting. And you know what? I'm going to pull in one of my friends, and we're going to teach this class together. And we did a 6-week pilot program, had 12 kids in there. We made a lot of mistakes, but we had a lot of fun. And the kids loved it. And that was the beginning of how I incorporated these two concepts together. And so the business just kind of grew in my community. More schools wanted to get involved. And then friends from outside the region heard about it. And I was like, let's spread this message. It's making a difference. It's making kids understand that it's important to help others. It's important to be kind. And it's not just about giving money, but you have other ways, you have other skills of being able to do that. And so that was just kind of the beginning of the journey. And like I said, I'm still in the beginning, and I'm just excited to see the different directions that it can go.
That is so cool. I love your story. So about how long ago did you start this? Like, when was that you taught that first class in schools?
It was in 2014, and it was one school for the whole year. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's try another school. And of course, you know how it works. I started this program, and then I got pregnant with my 4th.
Of course.
And so, of course. And I'm like, you know what? Things happen for a reason, and I'm going to be able to do it. Otherwise, I would not be having this opportunity. So I figured that, you know what, I need to hire instructors to help me. So that's how I started building the business a little bit. And when I started having little obstacles in the way, sometimes I would make the right decision and it would go the right way. Other times I made awful decisions, and it put me in the dumps for a while. So it was definitely not a smooth journey, but definitely one of ups and downs, but learning from each step along the way.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, because I think there are a lot of new entrepreneurs here, and they go through the process. And I know we have a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs and new entrepreneurs that listen to the podcast, and they go through the process, and people aren't really honest with them in most cases, saying that you're going to make mistakes and it's going to hurt, and you're going to learn from them. And so I just appreciate your honesty, because every single person hits that who is moving into success and entrepreneurship. So why doesn't everybody talk about it? Because that would be so helpful. And then, one of the things you said, gosh, I love this. Entrepreneurship motherhood changes your business model, and it does to all of us. And I think I think realizing that as women, whether it's your first child you're having or your second or your fourth or your sixth or whatever it is, your business model has to change and rotate, if you want that type of family lifestyle entrepreneurship like you and I have, and knowing that and growing your team is an important part of that. And so when you went through those development times, like what were some of the first things that you got help with when you were like, okay, having another baby here, I want to start moving more into, maybe was it delegation, or what were some of the first areas that you identified, oh my gosh, I need to get this, off my plate, or help, like you're like waving a white flag?
First, for sure, was I needed someone to teach my program. And you know how it is, it's your baby. You're like, no one can teach this the way I want to teach it. But you know what? It's not rocket science, but you just need to understand the mission. You need to understand, have the passion behind it. And I'm thinking here, like I've gone through several teachers before I found the right one. And they started off well, but then you realize like, this is not the mission of my company. And I'm not liking the way this is going. And so, we had some tough times where I was like, with the teacher, we broke ways and it wasn't pretty, but, I had to stay true to what I felt like my brand was and what my mission was. And so that itself was a tough part, was just finding someone to teach. The next step was I was managing, I'm trying to say like 6 or 7 classes. I was writing the curriculum. I was prepping all the materials. So it could be something like we were doing fleece blankets for the hospital, and it would be a young class. So I would sit there and draw lines of where the kids needed to cut. And this would be for like 20 blankets. I'm like, I can't be doing this. Like, that's where my entrepreneurship husband, he came in. He's like, okay, Sit, the biggest thing for you, your most valuable thing is your time right now. And so do you think it's worth your time to be making these lines for kids to cut? He's like, delegate. You need to start delegating. I'm like, but this is my thing. I want to do it all. And that's when you realize as an entrepreneur, you can't do it all because you're going to drown, and you might get a lot of things done, but the things you need to get done will not be done well. And that was really hard for me to swallow. And then the biggest thing I had overcome was letting go of full control of my programs. So when I moved from Chicago, I told my teachers, all right, what I have is I have this membership where teachers can become members, and I provide the training and the lesson plans. So I told my teachers, instead of being an independent contractor for me where I am running everything, administrative, prepping, and all you're doing is teaching, I pay you an hourly for the classes, you can become a member for this monthly fee. I'll do some of the administrative stuff because they were the relationships I made, but you're going to create the lesson plans, you're going to prep the materials, and you're going to kind of take control of the program. And that was a huge step for me because I was letting go of my baby, and I found the right people to do it. And it's about someone who respects you, but you also respect, and there's a trust for each other and an open communication. And I was so lucky to find other people that I could trust to do that.
Wow, what a fascinating business model. Again, how your business model has evolved so you could grow and do what you needed to do and what was best for your family, which was going on this adventure. And oh my gosh, I feel that pain of delegation and giving up control. It is really scary and painful. Gosh, man, it really is. But
it's freeing after a while, though.
Right.
You're like, okay, I see it, but to initially let go, it's not something you want to do.
Not at all. And so let's everybody just admit that. We will all own that together, whether you're listening or, it's just the two of us here, if we're the only ones doing that. It is so scary. Giving up control is one of the most painful things to do, especially as an entrepreneur, especially as you've poured so much into your purpose and your passion and making sure that it's been able to fly. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that just by identifying that it's really, really hard, maybe that's a first step for some people who are listening to say, hey, okay, it is normal that I'm feeling like this is hard to let go. And that's okay. And this is part of the process because Sitinee said it's going to be freeing in just a hot minute. or or 3 years.
Or
No.
yes, exactly. I still struggle once in a while.
No, it's true. But I mean, it is about finding the right people, and that is a process too. So I'm glad that you said that too. And I've been through. Obviously, I've been in business for years and years, but I mean, it's been a process, and I think that one of the things that is most important. I actually learned this from Trevinia Barber. Trevinia is the founder of Priority VA, and she was a guest a while ago. My gosh, like a year and a half ago on this podcast. And Trevinia said, I never hire somebody whose purposes don't align with my purpose. And I'll go through a bunch of other people. And so she was talking about the importance of when you interview people, when you hire them, that you're not just giving them a job, or you're not just looking for them to fill a hole or be able to provide a skill, but their actual purpose as a human needs to align with the purpose and the opportunity you're opening up for them. And that might mean finding the most qualified person on earth that's just a rock star, but if their purpose isn't aligning with yours, then you have to pass them by. And it's a scary thing to do also if they're super qualified, but in the long run, that's how you build really successful purpose-driven companies.
Yes, you said that perfectly. It is very true. You need someone that is aligned with your mission.
Right.
Or else, I mean, mine was as simple as, I had a teacher that started doing their own crafts that wasn't part of my mission, and she tried tweaking it to kind of fit my mission, but not really. And I was like, wait a second, that's not giving our Fully Kids. And
Right.
it's very small. It was something very small, but in the long run, to me, it made a big impact of this isn't what I'm about. Even though you're a phenomenal teacher, this isn't what Giving Our Fully Kids is.
I love that. That was so brave of you. Very, very brave. Okay, so tell us, how can people get involved? You mentioned two different ways that, you mentioned one way, but I know of another way that I really want you to share because I think it's super exciting. And we talked about it before we started recording. Our listeners are entrepreneurs and they want to move into social entrepreneurship, doing good things, providing and teaching their children to be impact makers, even if that doesn't align right now, or they can't build that within their own businesses right now. And so you have two really cool opportunities. I'm going to actually ask you to share both of them. One, this membership for trainers that, maybe want to be involved or teach, or people that want to volunteer. And then the other one I'm really excited about because you have a very unique opportunity for entrepreneurs who want to help their children create projects to give away too. So can you tell us about those opportunities for people?